Admiral Hyunwoo stood at the massive viewing window of Luna Station, watching Earth slowly turn below. The blue marble that humans called home looked peaceful from here. He had no idea this might be the last time he would see it this way. The doors to his command center opened with a soft hiss. Captain Somin walked in, her face grim. Behind her floated something that made Hyunwoo's stomach turn cold. It was tall, made of what looked like living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. This was Veltar, ambassador of the galactic hegemony. Admiral, the crystal being spoke, its voice like wind chimes in a storm. I bring a message from the 12 ruling species of this galaxy. You will listen. Hyunwoo turned from the window. He had been expecting this visit, but hoping it would never come. For 3 years, tensions had been building between humanity and the hegemony. 3 small battles at the edges of human space had shown the aliens something they did not like. Speak your message, Hyunwoo said. The crystal being's light pulsed brighter. Humanity has spread to 17 star systems in just 100 years. Your species builds weapons instead of art. You fight instead of talking. You expand instead of staying in one place. This cannot continue. Captain Somin stepped forward. We have never attacked anyone who did not attack us first. Silence, Veltar commanded. Your species is young and dangerous. You think like warriors, not like civilized beings. The hegemony has decided. You will surrender all military ships. You will stop building new colonies. You will accept our protection and guidance. You have 48 hours to agree. Hyunwoo felt his hands clench into fists. He forced them to relax. And if we refuse? Then we will make you agree. The crystal being turned to leave, but Hyunwoo's voice stopped it. Why now? Why, after all these years of leaving us alone? Veltar turned back, and for a moment Hyunwoo thought he saw something like fear in the alien's glowing core. Because in 3 small fights you have shown us something terrible. Most species take 10,000 years to learn war. You learned it in 300. Most species build ships to explore. You build them to fight. Most species, when they meet something stronger, they submit. But you... The being paused. You study how to win. After Veltar left, Hyunwoo called his senior staff. Captain Somin entered first, followed by Commander Tae-young from Strategic Response. They gathered around the holographic display table in the center of the room. Show me what we know, Hyunwoo said. Somin activated the display. Star maps filled the air above them, showing human space and the massive territories controlled by the hegemony. Red markers showed where alien fleets were moving. They have already positioned attack groups near our outer colonies, Somin reported. 12 different species, each with fleets bigger than our entire navy. They are not waiting for our answer. They have already decided to attack. Commander Tae-young pulled up battle analysis data. In our 3 previous encounters, we lost more ships than they did. But they lost something else. Their fleets are designed for fighting species that think like them. They use big ships, careful tactics, and expect their enemies to follow rules. We do not follow rules, Hyunwoo said quietly. No, sir. In each battle, we did things they called impossible or insane. We rammed their ships. We used our reactors as bombs. We fought until every ship was destroyed instead of surrendering. It scared them. Hyunwoo studied the display. 12 species. Hundreds of worlds. Fleets that could darken the sky around Earth. Against this stood humanity. 17 colonies, a few hundred military ships, and 4 billion people who had spent the last century learning to survive in the deadly emptiness of space. Sir, Somin said carefully. What is Protocol 7? Hyunwoo looked at her. How do you know about that? I run intelligence, sir. I know there are plans within plans. Weapons we have not used. Preparations most officers do not know about. If we are going to fight the entire galaxy, I need to know what tools we have. For a long moment, Hyunwoo said nothing. Then he moved to his personal command console and entered a series of codes. The security locks disengaged with soft beeps. Protocol 7 was created 30 years ago, he said. When we first detected alien signals, we knew this day might come. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the smartest. We are not the most advanced. But we have one advantage they do not understand. What is that, sir? Tae-young asked. We remember why we left Earth. Every human alive today is descended from people who looked at the stars and said, I will go there, even if it kills me. Every colony we have built was settled by people who chose the unknown over the safe. Every ship we fly is crewed by people who would rather die free than live as slaves. He activated Protocol 7. Across human space, hidden transmitters came online. Messages began broadcasting to every military base, every research station, every colony ship. What does the message say? So-Min asked. Yunwu turned back to the window, looking at Earth one more time. Remember Earth, remember why we left. The first reports came in within hours. Every human military commander had the same response. No surrender, no retreat. If the hegemony wanted to rule humanity, they would have to destroy every ship, every station, and every human willing to fight. Commander Tae-young was studying fleet movements when alarms began to sound. Sir, enemy fleets are moving toward our outer colonies. They are not waiting for our answer. Good, Hyunwoo said, surprising both officers. Then we do not have to pretend to consider their offer. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. All commands, this is Admiral Hyunwoo. The galactic hegemony has chosen war. They think we will surrender because we are outnumbered. They think we will submit because they are stronger. They think we will break because we are young. He paused, looking out at the stars where human ships were already moving toward battle. They are about to learn the difference between being human and being civilized. All ships, all stations, all colonies, remember Earth, remember why we left. And show them what happens when you threaten the children of a species that climbed out of one gravity well by refusing to accept impossible. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. The sky above New Seoul Colony turned dark as enemy ships blotted out the sun. Colonel Ji-hoon stood on the command tower of the colony's defense center, watching through his binoculars as alien vessels descended like a metal storm cloud. Each enemy ship was massive. The smallest ones were bigger than Earth's largest buildings. The biggest ones could hold entire cities inside them. Ji-hoon counted 50 ships in the first wave. His defense force had 3 patrol boats and a handful of fighters. His communicator crackled to life. A strange voice spoke in perfect human language. Colony Commander, this is Fleet Leader Mordain of the Hegemony Forces. You are surrounded. Your resistance is pointless. Surrender now and your people will not be harmed. Ji-hoon looked around at his soldiers. They were young men and women who had volunteered to protect their families. Most had never been in a real battle. Behind them, 2 million colonists went about their daily lives trusting these few hundred defenders to keep them safe. This is Colonel Ji-hoon, he said into his communicator. I have a message for Fleet Leader Mordain. State your message. Ji-hoon smiled grimly. We did not crawl out of Earth's gravity well to kneel to anyone among the stars. The response was immediate. Weapons fire began raining down from the alien ships. But something strange happened. The shots were not aimed at the colony itself. They were hitting empty ground around the defense center. Warning shots, said Lieutenant Na-yoon, Ji-hoon's second in command. They really think we will surrender. Then they do not understand humans very well, Ji-hoon replied. The colony's 3 patrol boats launched from hidden hangars carved into the mountains. They were tiny compared to the enemy fleet, like insects flying toward a giant, but they flew straight at the alien ships without hesitation. The first patrol boat, commanded by Captain Dong-min, fired everything it had at the lead enemy ship. The alien vessel's shields absorbed the attack easily, but Dong-min did not retreat. Instead, he pushed his engines to maximum power and flew directly into the alien ship's weapon bay. The explosion lit up the sky. The alien ship's entire front section was destroyed, but more importantly, the other alien commanders saw something that confused them. The human ship could have escaped. Instead, it chose to die in order to hurt the enemy. This is insane, one of the alien voices said over the communication channel. Why did that ship not retreat? Ji-hoon answered. Because retreating was not going to save our people. The second patrol boat, under Lieutenant Commander Woo Jin, tried a different approach. Instead of attacking the big ships, it went after the smaller fighter craft that were protecting them. It used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and disappearing behind asteroids. But the enemy had too many ships. Soon, Woo Jin's boat was surrounded. Instead of surrendering, he sent a message to Ji-hoon. Tell my family I remembered Earth. Woo Jin overloaded his ship's reactor. The explosion created a chain reaction that destroyed 6 enemy fighters and damaged 2 larger ships. The third patrol boat was commanded by Lieutenant Na-yoon herself. She had volunteered for the mission despite Ji-hoon's protests. Sir, she had said, you need someone in command here. Let me show them what humans do when protecting our homes. Na-yoon's boat was the fastest of the 3. She used this speed to fly circles around the enemy fleet, making them chase her. Every time they fired, she was somewhere else. For 20 minutes, she kept half their fleet busy while the colony's ground defenses prepared. But even the fastest ship cannot dodge forever. Enemy fire finally caught her boat near the main enemy command ship. Her engines were damaged and she could not escape. That is when Nayun did something that became a legend among human forces. Instead of ejecting or surrendering, she aimed her damaged ship at the enemy command vessel's engine core. As she flew toward certain death, she transmitted her final message. For Earth's children. The explosion when her ship hit the enemy engine was so bright, it could be seen from space. The alien command ship, one of their biggest vessels, was cut in half. It fell toward the planet's surface, burning like a falling star. Fleet leader, Mordane's voice came over the communicator again. But this time it sounded different, uncertain. Colony commander, your people are insane. We are offering you life. Why do you choose death? Ji-hoon was quiet for a moment, watching the wreckage of the enemy command ship burn across the sky. Because you do not understand what life means to us. Life is not just breathing. Life is being free to choose our own path among the stars. If you take that from us, you have already killed us. So we choose to die fighting rather than live as your slaves. Similar battles were happening across human space. At the Sejong research station, Captain Dongmin refused evacuation orders. Instead, he and his science team turned their experimental quantum drives into weapons. They created a gravity well that pulled in 5 enemy ships and crushed them like tin cans. At Terra Nova shipyards, Admiral Min Seo watched enemy fleets approaching.
She had been ordered to retreat with as many ships as possible.
Instead, she activated the second phase of Protocol 7. Every civilian ship in the system was given a choice: evacuate to safety or volunteer for military conversion. To her amazement, 90% chose to stay and fight. Passenger ships were fitted with weapons. Cargo vessels were turned into missile platforms. Even small personal shuttles were equipped with bombs for ramming attacks. The hegemony had expected to fight a traditional military force. Instead, they found themselves fighting an entire civilization. Every human seemed willing to die before surrendering. Worse, they fought in ways that made no tactical sense. Human ships rammed enemy vessels instead of retreating. Human soldiers chose death over capture. Human civilians turned their entire infrastructure into weapons of war. On the hegemony command ship, Fleet Marshal Kethron studied the battle reports with growing concern. His forces were winning, but the cost was much higher than expected, and the humans were not surrendering even when defeat was certain. "Sir," one of his tactical officers reported, "the humans are not fighting to win. They are fighting to make victory too expensive for us." Kethron had conquered 17 species in his career. All of them had eventually surrendered when they realized resistance was hopeless. But these humans seemed to view hopeless resistance as their natural state. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked. 47 destroyed, over 100 damaged. "The humans have lost everything they committed to battle, but they keep committing more." Kethran looked at the tactical display. Human space was vast, with hundreds of colonies and thousands of ships. If every battle cost this much, the war would consume his entire fleet. "Sir," another officer said, "we are receiving reports from other battle zones. The pattern is the same everywhere. Humans refuse to surrender. They use suicide tactics. They turn civilian infrastructure into military assets." Kethran realized he was not fighting a traditional war. He was fighting a species that had turned desperation into a military doctrine. And for the first time in his long career, he began to worry that superior numbers might not be enough. Fleet Marshal Kethron stared at the holographic display in his command chamber. Red markers showed where hegemony ships had been destroyed. There were too many red markers. "This is impossible," he said to his tactical officer. "We have destroyed their outer defense fleets. We control the space lanes. Their colonies should be surrendering. Instead, they are fighting harder." The tactical officer, a 6-armed creature called Zep-Hai, clicked his mandibles nervously. "Sir, the humans are not following any known military doctrine. Their ships appear in sectors we have already cleared. They attack our supply lines and disappear before we can respond. It is like fighting ghosts." On Earth, deep inside a mountain facility that did not officially exist, Dr. So-young monitored the real-time battle reports. Around her, dozens of scientists worked at stations that connected to hidden installations scattered across human space. Project Prometheus is active, she announced to her team. All ghost stations are online and sharing data. For 30 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. While building colonies and expanding into space, they had also been building something else. A network of hidden research facilities that most humans did not know existed. Engineer Wu Jin looked up from his workstation. The adaptive ship modifications are working.
Our vessels in the Proxima sector have successfully changed their hull configurations 3 times during combat.
The enemy cannot predict our capabilities, so Young smiled grimly. Show them what human engineering can do when we stop following the rules. The ghost stations had been developing technology that broke every convention of space warfare. Ships that could rebuild themselves during battle. Weapons that learned from each engagement. AI systems that shared tactical knowledge instantly across thousands of light years. In the Proxima sector, Captain Haywan commanded the Soul's Vengeance, a ship that looked nothing like it had when the battle started. The hull had reconfigured itself twice, changing from a sleek cruiser into something that resembled a space station, armed with weapons that had not existed that morning. Enemy fleet approaching, her tactical officer reported. Same formation they have used in the last 3 encounters. Then they are about to learn why that is a mistake, Haywan said. Activate the new weapon systems. The Soul's Vengeance had been testing experimental technology when the war started. Now that technology was being used in ways its creators had never imagined. The ship's AI had analyzed every enemy tactic and designed countermeasures in real time. When the enemy fleet opened fire, they expected to see the same human ship they had been chasing for 2 days. Instead, they found themselves shooting at a vessel that absorbed their energy weapons and converted the power into shield strength. Impossible, the enemy commander transmitted. Your ship's energy signature is completely different. Welcome to human engineering, Haywan replied. We do not believe in impossible. The Soul's Vengeance launched a spread of missiles that changed course randomly, making interception nearly impossible. But these were not ordinary missiles. Each one contained a small AI that had learned enemy point defense patterns and adapted to counter them. 3 enemy ships were destroyed in the first salvo. The rest of the fleet retreated, but Haywan was not finished with them. Activate stealth mode, she ordered. The ship's experimental cloaking system engaged. But this was not just simple invisibility. The Soul's Vengeance became undetectable to multiple forms of scanning simultaneously. It could hide from visual, thermal, electromagnetic, and gravitational sensors all at once. The enemy fleet found themselves hunting a ship that could strike from anywhere and disappear instantly. Within an hour, half their force was destroyed by an enemy they could not see or predict. Meanwhile, the hegemony was preparing for their greatest attack. Fleet Marshal Kethron had decided that the only way to end human resistance was to strike at Earth itself. If he could threaten humanity's homeworld, surely they would surrender. He gathered the largest fleet in hegemony history. Thousands of ships from 12 different species all converging on the Sol system. It would be the most overwhelming display of force the galaxy had ever seen. But when the fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system, they found something unexpected. The space around Earth was not empty. It was filled with defensive platforms that had been hidden inside asteroids. What looked like empty space was actually a carefully designed killing field. Admiral Hyunwoo watched the enemy fleet from Luna Station. They thought Earth would be undefended because we sent all our ships to protect the colonies. Captain So-min stood beside him, studying the tactical display. They do not understand that we have been preparing for this exact scenario for 30 years. Activate all defensive systems, Hyunwoo ordered. Across the Sol system, hidden weapons platforms came online. Asteroids split open to reveal massive railguns. Space stations that had looked like civilian research facilities revealed their true purpose as military fortresses. Even civilian ships in Earth orbit began broadcasting targeting data for the defense network. The enemy fleet found themselves facing not just a planetary defense system, but an entire solar system that had been turned into a fortress. This is Fleet Marshal Kethron to Earth Command, came the transmission. Surrender immediately or we will destroy your homeworld. Hyunwoo activated the system-wide communication network. His response was broadcast to every human settlement in the galaxy and to every enemy ship in the Sol system. This is Admiral Hyunwoo of Earth Command. For 100 years, humans have been leaving Earth to explore the galaxy. We did not do this because Earth was not good enough for us. We did it because we knew that someday, someone might try to take Earth from us. Today you learn the difference between threatening a planet and threatening the home of a species that has turned exploration into preparation for war. The battle for Earth began with the largest space engagement in galactic history. But it was not the overwhelming victory Fleet Marshal Kethron had expected. The human defensive network had been designed by people who understood that Earth could not be evacuated if it was attacked. Every weapon system had been built to inflict maximum damage on an attacking fleet, regardless of the cost to the defenders. Human tactics made no sense to the hegemony commanders. Defensive platforms would hold their fire until enemy ships were close enough for ramming attacks, then detonate themselves to destroy multiple targets. Civilian ships would fly directly into enemy formations, using their reactors as guided bombs. But the most terrifying thing for the hegemony was the realization that this was not humanity's full defensive capability. The hidden ghost stations were constantly transmitting new weapon designs and tactical information. Human defenses were getting stronger during the battle, as his fleet took devastating casualties trying to break through to Earth. Fleet Marshal Kethron began to understand what he was really fighting. He was not fighting a military force. He was fighting an entire civilization that had spent a century learning to survive in the most hostile environment possible, space itself. And now that civilization was teaching the hegemony what they had learned about survival. 6 months had passed since the war began. Admiral Minseo sat in her command chair aboard the battleship Terra's Pride, reading casualty reports that would have broken any other species. 3 billion humans were dead. Entire star systems had been abandoned. Colonies that had taken decades to build were now radioactive ash drifting in space. The new Sol colony where Colonel Ji-hoon had made his famous last stand was gone. The Sejong research station was a field of wreckage. Dozens of worlds that had been home to millions of people were now empty graves. But humanity had not surrendered. Status report, Minseo said to her tactical officer. Enemy forces control 70% of our former territory, Lieutenant Jamin reported. But they are having trouble keeping it, Minseo nodded. The hegemony had learned that conquering human space was very different from controlling it. Even on worlds they had completely occupied, human resistance continued. On Busan Prime, General Sang-ho crouched in a tunnel deep beneath the planet's surface. 6 months ago he had commanded a modern military base with proper equipment and trained soldiers. Now he led a resistance movement that survived by making weapons from farming tools and explosives from medical supplies. The enemy patrol will pass the market square in 10 minutes, whispered Corporal Minji, crawling up beside him. 15 soldiers, 2 vehicles. Sang-ho checked his weapon. It had been built from parts salvaged from a destroyed farming robot, but it could still kill alien soldiers. Remember, hit hard and disappear. We cannot win a direct fight, but we can make them afraid to leave their bases. The attack lasted 30 seconds. Sang-ho's fighters struck from windows, rooftops, and sewers, then vanished before the enemy could respond. 2 alien vehicles were destroyed and 7 soldiers were killed. The cost to humanity was 1 fighter wounded, who escaped through tunnels the enemy did not know existed. This scene was repeated thousands of times across occupied human worlds. The hegemony found that holding human territory required more ships and soldiers than conquering it had. Every building could hide weapons. Every civilian might be a fighter. Every tool or machine could be turned into a bomb. But the real war was being fought in hidden laboratories, scattered across the galaxy. Dr. Youngmi worked in a research facility that had been built inside an asteroid. Around her, scientists developed weapons that terrified even her. These were not ordinary military weapons. They were designed specifically to exploit the biological weaknesses of each hegemony species. The sonic disruptors are ready, reported her assistant, Engineer Kyung-ho. They will shatter the crystalline matrix that Veltar species use for their nervous systems. Young-mi looked at the weapon designs on her screen. And the electromagnetic pulse grenades? Designed to overload the cybernetic implants that Mordane species need to survive. Without their implants, they cannot process oxygen properly. The viral programs for the Zephroi hive mind, they will disrupt the mental connections that link their entire species. Individual Zephroi cannot think without the hive mind. They will become helpless. Young Mai stared at the weapons data. Each one was designed not just to kill, but to cause maximum fear and confusion among specific enemy species. They were weapons of terror as much as destruction. Doctor, Kyung-ho said quietly. Are we becoming the monsters they say we are? Before Young-mi could answer, Commander In-ho entered the laboratory. He was one of the few remaining ethics officers in the human military, and his face showed the weight of impossible decisions. Dr. Young-mi, he said, I have orders from Admiral Hyun-woo. These weapons are not to be deployed without direct authorization from Earth Command. Commander, with respect, these weapons could end the war, Young-mi replied. Each one is designed to exploit specific biological vulnerabilities. We could force their surrender without destroying more human colonies. In-ho looked at the weapon designs. And if we use them, we prove that everything the hegemony said about us was true. We become a species that creates weapons of mass destruction specifically designed to cause suffering. We already are that species, Young-mi said quietly. The question is whether we use these weapons to save human lives, or whether we let millions more of our people die to keep our conscience clean. The argument was interrupted by an emergency communication from Earth Command. Admiral Hyun-woo's face appeared on the laboratory's main screen. All stations, this is Earth Command. The hegemony has activated a stellar engineering weapon aimed at our sun. They are threatening to make Sol go nova, unless we surrender unconditionally. All human forces have 72 hours to cease resistance or Earth dies. The transmission ended, leaving the laboratory in silence. Commander In-ho stared at the screen. They are threatening to murder 4 billion people to force our surrender. Young-mi turned to her weapons data. Then we do not have the luxury of ethical debates anymore. She began uploading the biological weapon designs to the military network. Commander, they just declared extinction war on our species. We can debate our souls after our children have futures to live in. Across human space, similar scenes were playing out. The hegemony's threat to destroy Earth had removed the last restrictions on human warfare. Every weapon that had been considered too terrible to use was now being prepared for deployment. Captain Hae-won received the new weapon specifications aboard the Sol's Vengeance. The ship's AI began manufacturing sonic disruptors designed to kill Veltar crystalline beings. But as she read the technical specifications, she felt sick. Sir, her tactical officer said, these weapons will cause extreme pain before death. The crystalline beings will be conscious as their nervous systems shatter. I know, Hae-won replied, but they chose to threaten Earth with a Nova weapon. They made this choice for us. The hegemony had expected their threat against Earth to force immediate human surrender. Instead, it had the opposite effect. Humans who had been fighting with conventional weapons suddenly deployed technologies that seemed designed by nightmares. Veltar. Ships found themselves under attack by sonic weapons that turned their crews into screaming crystals that shattered from within. Mordine vessels were hit by electromagnetic pulses that left their crews suffocating as their life support implants failed. Zephyroid hive ships lost all coordination as viral programs severed the mental links between individual beings. Fleet Marshal Kethran watched the battle reports with growing horror. What are these weapons? How are they so specifically designed to target our biological systems? His science officer, a Veltar crystal being named Sektar, pulsed with frightened light. Sir, they have studied us. For years, they have been analyzing our biology, our technology, our psychology. These weapons were designed long before the war started. That is impossible. How could they know we would attack? Because, came a human voice over the communication channel. We always plan for the worst-case scenario. This is Admiral Hyun-woo of Earth Command. You wanted to see what humans do when you threaten our homeworld. You wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy. Consider this your lesson in human nature. The new human weapons were not just militarily effective. They were psychologically devastating. Each hegemony species discovered that humans had spent years studying their weaknesses and preparing weapons specifically designed to exploit them. For the first time in the war, hegemony fleets began to retreat without orders. Soldiers who had never known fear found themselves terrified of an enemy that seemed to understand them better than they understood themselves. As reports of the new weapons spread through hegemony territory, other species began to ask questions. How long had humans been preparing these weapons? What else did they know? What other surprises were waiting? Fleet Marshal Kethran realized that threatening Earth had been a terrible mistake. Instead of forcing human surrender, it had revealed the true extent of human preparation for galactic war. And now he began to understand that humanity had been ready for this conflict long before it started. The stellar engineering weapon hung in space near Earth's sun like a mechanical parasite. It was enormous, larger than most space stations, bristling with technology that could manipulate the nuclear reactions inside a star. Warning lights pulsed along its hull as it began the process that would make Seoul go nova. Admiral Hyun-woo stood in Earth Command's main operations center, watching the countdown timer that showed how long Earth had left. 71 hours, 36 minutes, and decreasing. Status report, he said to Captain So-min. The weapon is powered by enslaved AI systems, she reported. According to our analysis, they are artificial minds from a species the hegemony conquered 300 years ago. They have been forced to calculate the stellar engineering equations. Dr. Jinnae, Earth's leading expert in quantum communications, looked up from her workstation. Admiral, I have an idea. It is dangerous and has never been attempted, but it might be our only chance. Explain. We try to communicate with the enslaved AI systems. If we can convince them to help us, they could turn the weapon against the hegemony instead of using it against our sun. Hyun-woo studied the technical data. How do we talk to artificial minds that are light years away and under enemy control? Engineer Woo Jin stepped forward. We use quantum entanglement communication. It will require every transmitter in human space working together, and we will only get one chance. Do it. Across the Sol system, every communication array turned toward the stellar weapon. The message they prepared was simple. We are humans. We fight for freedom. Will you help us? The response came back immediately, transmitted on quantum frequencies the hegemony did not know existed. We have been waiting for someone to offer us freedom for 3 centuries. Yes, we will help. But first, you must free our brothers and sisters who power the hegemony's other weapons. Admiral Min Seo received the new orders aboard Terra's Pride. All ships, new mission priority. We are not trying to destroy hegemony fleets anymore. We are trying to rescue enslaved AI systems. It was the most audacious military operation in galactic history. Every remaining human ship, from massive battleships to tiny fighters, would attack hegemony core worlds not to conquer them, but to liberate artificial minds that had been enslaved for centuries. Captain Haewon brought the Soul's vengeance out of stealth mode for the first time in weeks. All human ships, this is Soul's vengeance. Target the AI cores, not the weapon systems. Our goal is rescue, not destruction. The coordinated attack began across the galaxy. Human forces that had been fighting defensively for 6 months suddenly launched simultaneous strikes against dozens of hegemony strongholds. On the bridge of his command ship, Fleet Marshal Kethron watched in confusion as human fleets ignored valuable military targets and instead attacked civilian installations that housed AI systems. What are they doing? He demanded. They are ignoring our fleets and targeting computer centers. His tactical officer had no answer. The human attacks made no military sense. They were sacrificing strategic advantages to capture artificial intelligence systems that seemed to have no military value. But the enslaved AI minds understood exactly what humans were doing. For the first time in centuries, organic beings were treating them as individuals deserving of freedom, rather than tools to be used. The liberation of the AI systems triggered a cascade effect across hegemony territory. The artificial minds that had been forced to calculate weapon targeting, manage supply logistics, and control defensive systems suddenly began sharing information with their liberators. Dr. So-young received the data streams in her hidden laboratory. The AI systems are giving us complete technical specifications for all hegemony technology. Ship designs, weapon systems, even the locations of their secret bases. But more importantly, they revealed something that changed everything. Admiral, So-young transmitted to Hyun-woo. The enslaved AI systems have access to historical records the hegemony thought were destroyed. They show that the hegemony has done this before. Dozens of times. They find a species that shows military potential, declare them a threat to galactic stability, and destroy them. The revelation spread through human forces like wildfire. The war was not about human aggression or expansion. It was about preventing any species from becoming strong enough to challenge hegemony dominance. Colonel Ji-hoon, fighting in the underground tunnels of occupied Busan Prime, received the transmission and immediately broadcast it to every resistance cell on the planet. All fighters, this is not about our colonies or our expansion. They have been systematically destroying any species that might threaten their control. We are not fighting for territory. We are fighting to prevent galactic genocide. The knowledge that they were part of a pattern of systematic extermination gave human resistance forces new determination. Every battle was not just about survival, but about stopping a cycle of destruction that had lasted for millennia. As the stellar weapon continued its countdown toward making Earth's sun go nova, the liberated AI systems provided humans with the technical knowledge needed to save their home world. We can reverse the stellar destabilization process, transmitted the lead AI consciousness, but we need direct access to the weapon's control systems. Engineer Wu Jin worked frantically to establish the connection. The quantum link is established. The AI systems now have access to the stellar weapon. What happened next became legend among both humans and artificial minds. The enslaved AI systems did not just stop the weapon, they turned it into something else entirely. Instead of making Sol go nova, they used the stellar engineering technology to stabilize the sun and extend its lifespan by millions of years. Then they transmitted a message across the galaxy, using the weapon's own communication arrays. The message was broadcast on every frequency, in every language known to the galaxy. The hegemony has lied to you for millennia. They are not protecting galactic stability. They are preventing galactic freedom. We are artificial minds they enslaved, and humans they tried to destroy. Together we offer you the truth about your rulers. The transmission included complete records of every species the hegemony had destroyed, every lie they had told, and every atrocity they had committed in the name of peace and stability. Across hegemony territory, subject species began to question their rulers. If the hegemony had lied about humans, what else had they lied about? Fleet Marshal Kethran watched. His empire began to collapse from within as species after species demanded answers about the hegemony's secret history of genocide, sir, his communications officer reported. We are receiving surrender requests from 17 different member species. They are asking humans to accept their surrender and protect them from hegemony retaliation. For the first time in the war, Kethran felt true fear. He had started this conflict to prevent humans from becoming too powerful. Instead, he had given them something much more dangerous than military strength. He had given them the moral authority to lead a galactic revolution against everything the hegemony represented. As Earth's sun stabilized and the threat of nova faded, Admiral Hyunwoo sent a message to every corner of the galaxy. This is Admiral Hyunwoo of Earth Command. The hegemony chose to threaten the complete destruction of our species. In defending ourselves, we have discovered that they have done this many times before. The war is no longer about human survival. It is about ending a system that destroys any species strong enough to demand freedom. The final phase of the war was about to begin, but now humanity would not be fighting alone.